now our next speaker is Professor Godavarisha Mishra, sir. I would request you to come over the podium and deliver the lectures. Over to you, sir.
Respected Professor Pradhan and co-panelists, participants, and distinguished assembly of scholars, and all those who are here. Thanks to Professor Anand Mishra and the organizers for this opportunity at the Banaras University, Banaras Hindu University, which is a great center for learning as far as Advaita is concerned. And I am very happy that this occasion made this possible for me to come here and speak. Friends, I would like to start from Professor Pradhan. I would like to start from one observation Professor Pradhan made, either intentionally or unintentionally, I do not know, but at a presentation in Surat, he said that India was not subjugated in every aspect. It was only subjugated politically. Large part of its culture was not subjugated at many parts of the country, which is why this subjugation in the total sense was not visible to us. Like we are not politically, still there is a lot of things in which we are not subjugated. One is this philosophical subjugation, because many people in our country never thought they are eroded or their thinking was misrepresented by the others, because they do not know what is happening to them in other parts of the world. They were not bothered who they told what, and that is why there is no subjugation. Subjugation is only as a mental thing. Physical subjugation was there, political subjugation was there, but cultural, this so-called, if you permit me, philosophical subjugation was not there. Very important. Did you get it from some other book, or it is your own? Do you remember that you said something like that? That's right. It's a great thing, and I am going from there to another thing, which is superimposed on the us from the West, and which has taken a lot of our time to understand ourselves, because we are trying to get out of this covering, get out of this superimposition that has been made by the West on us. And a large part of the modern Advaita, like Advaita after independence mostly, before also, has been, because of such a thing of our tradition being read by the West. And why did this happen? And even today, there are large number of people, there is many scholars in our country who say that this is wrong, and it is another problem to be discussed. I come to my second point, which is miscommunication and non-communication. Friends, I would like to tell you, when Shankara wrote a text somewhere in the South India, the commentary was written in Nepal, near Nepal, Darbhanga, by Vachaspati Mishra. And when Vachaspati Mishra wrote Bhamati on Shankara Bhashya, okay, and when Bhamati was written, a commentary is written by Tamil Nadu by Appaya Dikshita. And when he writes something, a commentary is written in Gujarat by Ananda Bodha. See the country, what type of communication was going on. And see today, we are with all the communications, we don't have communication. Like it is mainly because of understanding. Sorry, no, like it is another point I am coming to, on understanding and misunderstanding given by the West. We are only jumping around the words because there is language support is not there. When Professor Bhatt was telling, beautifully was telling, like linguistic liberty. We have some linguistic liberty, but this linguistic liberty is not only a Western thing that is there. Even now in our tradition, there is a lot of linguistic liberty we have taken to. The hetu and pratyaya in non-Buddhist traditions are absolutely different from Buddhist traditions. Go to Chandrakirti, go to Nagarjuna, how they put hetu and pratyaya. Absolutely, it is not the same way you understand hetu pratyaya in other traditions. Linguistic liberty has been so carefully taken, and that is why I would like to say my third point. That is, this create every school, this linguistic liberty creates a uh, what philosophical territorialism, if I am permitted to say, a philosophical territory you built around you. This is my periphery. Even if you see the Buddhist, and Nagarjuna especially, or Asanga, you see, and Advaitins, this is our periphery. Nayayikas, like don't try to deal with this in this way. This is what I meant by this. He says what he means, then you come to the philosophy. This is hard thing I would like to say, and therefore, the most of the Dr. Prasad was telling that why so much of fighting. Professor Prasad, I wanted to tell everybody with, like, I am not going to my paper if time does not permit. But one thing I wanted to tell you, when we talk to each other from different angles, we learn. We don't, I don't say, oh, no, Prasad, what you told is wrong. No. Please, Sanjay. So, when I learn from you, even if I get defeated, there is a very famous anecdote between Nagasena and Milinda. Nagasena the saint is talking to Milinda, and he says, your lordship, Milinda is the king. When two kings fight and one is defeated, the other say, kill his head, chop off his head, kill him. When two scholars fight and one gets defeated, the defeated person feels obliged to the other and learns from him. It is a give and take. It is not like two chickens or two bulls fighting. Everybody learns and feels good. It is an evolving thing. That is what has happened in and through the philosophy. And one more point I wanted to tell. Many people say that Indian philosophy is dead. There is nothing that is happening, especially Professor Prasad. He always says after 15th century, why is it Indian philosophy? And I don't know, Professor Pradhan was there. Professor Pahi and Professor Prasad was a physical fight in Bhubaneswar about these things. He told that, do you think that K.C. Bhattacharya is not a philosopher? Aurobindo is not a philosopher? What do you know? He simply abused him. I want to tell you, like, they're all great people, there are no more there. With these things, friends, I would like to bring before you a very brilliant item to which two of you already have given a reference. Daniel gave, and Dilip gave, all of you gave. Professor Malkani. It comes from a place which was not funded by any king, any government institution. Because why I am telling government institution, Professor Tiwari, we had lot of scholarship, no money. Lot of money, very less scholarship. When tooth are good, coconut is not there. When coconut has come, no tooth to die. So that is the state we are all in. So anyway, Professor Malkani, not that it is a bad scene, it happens now and then. I am very hopeful that we will be able to do much better philosophy in the days to come. We have people who are very creative people. Therefore, as I told you in the beginning, the language problem, and therefore I all the times feel that how important it is that we must speak in our native languages, Hindi. And that is why I always feel that just because Sanskritic philosophy has not been practiced, does not mean that it is not practiced in other languages, other ways. So anyway, with that, I wanted to bring you to take you from here to Amalnar, a small village somewhere in North Maharashtra, and a place promoted by a businessman called Pratap Seth by inviting a few people, and one among those is Professor Keshi Bhattacharya, Murthy, Krishna, um, this Malkani. And Malkani was his first research scholar. Malkani comes there and stays with Keshi Bhattacharya, and they start doing philosophy. And Malkani's career starts with Pratap Seth, ends with Pratap Seth. Because every time whatever business profit he gets, he invests there. And when he died, the center got closed. So there's a lot of, like, such a brilliant, like, I don't think there is any place in our country like that. We have religions. There are many religious places who want to promote philosophy in their own way. But free thinking, it was only promoted by Pratap Seth, having such a lot of people. See, imagine who of Indian philosophy of yesterday were promoted by Pratap Seth. That was the situation. I'm just like, wish there will be many people in our country who will be able to do such a thing. Anyway, so what I wanted to do is, I wanted to bring you to this person, the Malkani, and just read through. And whenever my time is over, just tell me, because long paper I have written, thinking that I will have a lot of time, but I don't have time. I know, that is not possible to speak more than 20-30 minutes. Please allow me if time permits. So and what I'm telling is about him from Malkani, why I'm telling that Westerners have really tried to put us in a very different way, not tarnish our image. Sometimes they did, but they have slowly tried to give their opinion into our opinion. That might be a linguistic problem also. I do not take the Neo Vedanta as it is given today. The Neo Vedanta to me can be a Neo Vedanta for few thinkers, but not all people. Mahadevan was not a Neo Vedanta. Even though he wrote in English, he was not a Neo Vedanta. He was a traditional Vedanta. You can say with Vivekananda is a New Vedanta. And there are some, but there are many who are not new. They putting new, they are making again dividing the whole tradition into many. Anyway, I am not going into that. So in contemporary Indian philosophy, the presence of Vedanta is visibly strong since it has mass appeal, number one, and has prominent presence among the academia in Indian philosophy, universities. Though its origin is from the Vedas, that has an antiquity of several millennia, Vedanta has been coming down in an unbroken manner till our times in and through the vicissitudes of Prasthanas and Prakaranas, being the major theme of many varieties of writings in vernacular languages. The classical Vedanta is taken up by non-classical contemporary scholars, and they have given their own interpretations by keeping the core intact. And I'm just trying to say about Malkani, how he is writing a bhashya in English. Not a single place I have found where he has swerved from the tradition. The core is intact. The periphery expands. So, the period, especially after independence, is also marked by contemporary philosophy. This is another thing. Contemporary philosophy. Comparative philosophy, championed by large number of scholars like Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, and many Keshi Bhattacharya and others. There are others who also contributed to bulk of philosophy in India, analyzing the Indian philosophy with Western methodology, so that Indian modern man would be easy, it would be easy for the modern man to understand and have access to the great tradition of philosophy for which India is well known. Rasbihari Das, D.M. Datta, TMP, P.T. Raju. I would say P.T. Raju is one of the best of our times. He was alive during our times. G.R. Malkani, Murthy, Godavarisha Mishra, R. Balasubramaniam, Ramakant Sinhari, and one of the most celebrated personality from this place is Ramakant Tripathi, R.K. Tripathi. He's such a, like, one has to read his writings to know how much deeply he was involved in Vedanta. He was not a neo Vedantin. He was a Vedantin as a Vedantin of the time of the traditional times. Professor Pradhan is his student. He must be knowing better than I feel. I feel envy of you that I did not know him, that you knew him. Such a great scholar, Professor R.K. Tripathi. So one of the profound thinkers is Malkani, and let me go to Malkani. This is Ghanaswam Das Malkani. 1892 1977 is an outstanding exponent of Indian philosophy, and Indian philosophy means for him Advaita Vedanta, and Advaita Vedanta for means not Indian philosophy, philosophy. So that is how he built up the whole school. And I don't know, another 20 minutes or whatever, 10 minutes, what I can do. Malkani succeeded the second director of the Institute of Amalnar, Indian Institute of Philosophy, in the year 1935, and continued up to 1966 till the institute was closed because of the death of Pratap Seth, the founder of the institution. Style and objective of Malkani's. See, what I have done in this presentation is I have read Malkani's almost all the books which I have been doing for some times, and I have tried to summarize it in order to focus the highlights of his thinking. So unlike traditional Vedantic exponents of the texts, Malkani admits in his own writings that his writings are neither text-based nor to be treated from an Orientalist's perspective. He claims to have approached the Vedanta. Daniel, please. So he seems, Daniel, please. So he claims to have approached the Vedanta as a free. Time ho gaya? Okay. So I think I will read the conclusion. Okay. So I'm just in the first page, and so what he is doing philosophy, the method and content. This is what 5 minutes are there. So let me tell you something before I conclude. He says that Indian philosophy is not a view of life; it is a way of life, and he makes like a candid confession as to how philosophers conceal their ignorance in their conceit, and shows that there is scope for presenting the subtle philosophical thinking in simple language without clothing it in jargon and making verbose statements. So this is one of the major things. And intuition and knowledge in Vedantic sense. He brings a word called intuition and gives a lot of meaning into understanding that what is intuition. So one of the essays, intellect and intuition, Malkani deals with two questions. Is intuition a distinct mode of knowledge, or is there an intuition of the ultimate reality? So this is being discussed, and Malkani says, the question as to how we understand the content can be answered if we say that it is the knowledge is its own content. So, and it knows nothing apart from himself. And in this sense, it is ever realized and ground of all knowledge. And in another essay, Malkani says that if there is an intuition of the ultimate reality, that reality cannot be distinct from the intuition of it, and intuition that we do not have at present can be differentiated from the intuitions that we have, and its content, it cannot be non-relational, as it would involve subject-object distinction. This relation is another point that has to be that has been very critically analyzed. Hence, there cannot be an intuition of the ultimate reality if it is an intuition which we did not have. Please see. Therefore, what is the content of Brahman knowledge? Is it without devoid of everything, or it has some content? And therefore, he quotes. He did not quote. See, one thing that I found in Malkani, the many times what he says, you can bring the paragraphs from Shankara and try to see that it is an analysis of that paragraph. It is analysis of that idea. So here he is trying to explain. He has not written. This is my reading. The Advaitans idea of impartite mode, akhandakara vritti jnana, against the vritti jnana, in explaining his idea of intuition. And what is the relation between knowledge and self? That is another problem he brings in. See, he says that self is non-relational. How he has done, I have not much time, therefore I'm not going into that. But the questions I just raised, like which I would not be able to explain, is the self a real substance needed to account for knowledge, or is knowledge identical with the self or distinct from it? These are the two things he is discussing. Then the third point, you know, like here also he goes to say, like, is there any content of this knowledge, or there is no content? He brings in what Shankara says, Nayam ekantena abhishayaha. This is a very important thing, that you cannot say it is devoid of all the contents. Like, this is the main thing he brings out. And I am very quickly coming to my, then another very important point he brings in, can there be a philosophy without presupposition? The same logical positivistic idea that metaphysics should be, you know, there is no point in appreciating something which has been spoken in terms of metaphysics, and Malkani is dealing with that there cannot be any thinking without any presupposition. That, I wanted to add to that there is no presupposition itself is a presupposition. So Malkani deals with that, and he says, Malkani tries to conclude that the truth is absolute and ultimate is immanent in our experience, and is self-evidently true. It involves no presupposition. All presuppositions are warded off, are discarded, and it can only be seen in Vedantic parlance. It is aparoksha jnana. This is very important. Aparoksha jnana. So therefore it is not mystical. Mysticism will have something which, how can you say that I see something, I know myself? How can it be? Mystical? Mystical means something which is difficult, like not you can always, if mystic, his way of putting it is that what you see, ho gaya sir. I am coming to my, so internal implications of philosophy. This is another point. I'm just going fast, sir. 2 minutes you give me. So authority of the Shruti. This is another important point which Malkani brings before us, is the authority of the Shruti. Shruti, and here I wanted to tell you one thing that which Mahanti says, as a footnote, as to him, he says, what is Apurusha? Like Professor Bhatt was dealing with it. He was telling that when it is a statement of fact, it is Apurusha. And when there is like Mahanti says that he says that when there is the apurushatva is the concept of primacy and autonomy of the eminent text over the objective intention of the author. The objective intention of the author and preeminence of the text is something which he takes. So that is what one thing I wanted to tell you. And the last part of my paper, what I have done is, how he has tried to project Bhattacharya, Keshi Bhattacharya. What he is doing is, he has a lot of, in the book beginning, all the books will have Keshi Bhattacharya, because he started his career with Keshi Bhattacharya. But he says, if there is anything where Keshi Bhattacharya departs from Shankara, I am not with Keshi Bhattacharya. Very clearly, he, G.R. Malkani, T.R.B. Murthy, Vyas Bihari Das, they together wrote an article. Like they went together, like in many things their thinking was almost same. So what is Adhyasa? He puts Satya Anruta Mithuna. You know that? Satyanrute Mithuni Krutya Naisargakoyam Loka Vyavaharaha. He is putting that. And now he is telling about the religion and philosophy. Can you brand Indian thinking as a religion. This takes a lot of his, writing, and that is how he takes it. Then creation and illusion is another topic. I come to my conclusion, sir, in another 1 minute, because I have taken a lot of your time. So appearance and reality, and another like very brilliant way of putting. And one more thing, he does is his way of admonishing the ununderstanding of Daya Krishna on Advaita Vedanta. The one big essay has been devoted to write how Daya Krishna has totally misunderstood Advaita, and he is trying the Samkhya Purusha and Advaita Brahmas are similar. That is what Dayaji says. And then another point where he differs from P.T. Raju is the pure philosophy. What is he says? P.T. Raju says that India does not have pure philosophy. He says pure philosophy is only Advaita. There is no pure philosophy anywhere in the world. And Malkani criticizes D.M. Datta also. Inward and outward Advaita. There is one essay. So here, Datta says that how it is very difficult to understand K.C. Bhattacharya, and which is why Malkani is raising these issues. Malkani says no. It is very clear that D.M. Datta has not been able to do Advaita as it should have been done, and as it is invested by the tradition exclusively, especially Shankara. So that this part deals with Daya Krishna, and many people know about his criticism of Daya Krishna. I read the conclusion, just 1 minute, sir. I'm the last page. The contemporary period in Indian philosophy, especially Vedanta, would have three types of writings: expository works as done by Surya Narayana Shastri, T.M.P. Mahadevan, Haryana, Ganganath Jha, Esther Solomon in the Gujarat, and there is another variety, that is analytical Advaita, analytical Vedanta. There are scholars who emphasize on analysis with less or no acquaintance with the traditional texts, have good grounding in Western philosophy and methodology, and many things they raise brilliant questions, giving and then giving answers like Professor Dayakrishnan did. I put him in that basket. And the critical scholars who again are versed in tradition, with or without much acquaintance in classical texts, but have excellent understanding of the tradition, which is reflected in their writings, and that reflect their concern for philosophy in India. In this group, I will put Keshi Bhattacharya, J.N. Mahanti, Malkani. They have brought fresh air and new vitality to the understanding and interpretation of Indian philosophy, and with their background in the Western thoughts, they have brought noble ideas into the analysis, traditional analysis, with profundity of thought and clarity of expression. So the entire philosophical journey of Malkani is in and through one theme, that is Advaita. He is an Advaitin with unparalleled zeal to prove that the philosophy starts and ends with Advaita. There is a Tabalik finished. Yeah, we'll have. Yeah. इसको थोड़ा. So thank you for giving me time, giving me a question. Sorry,
Yeah, subject is so interesting, but time.
Yeah, we were talking about the authority of the Shruti and the Brahma Gyan. And we were talking also about the problem of the language, the Western people who are commenting. But I guess in Brahma Gyan or in Shruti, like how we are having the Puranas in our religion, there it is not written if that particular god is coming from that particular place or it's talking that particular language. I guess there it is not a problem of language in Brahma Gyan. No? Because we are not saying.
I did. देखिए, एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है जो हमने डिस्कस नहीं किया है, इतना से किया है. हिंदी में इसलिए बोल रहे हैं, फिर इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेशन बाद में कर देंगे. नहीं, लेकिन मैं नहीं करूंगा, आप देखिए एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज देखिए, इतना बड़ा ट्रेडिशन 10,000 का, और यहाँ फिलोसॉफिकल जो डिस्कशन होता है इसका आउटपुट कहाँ है? आउटपुट जो है वो आउटपुट जो है यह जो है समन्वय है। और समन्वय का मतलब ये होता है, देखिए मेरी थीसिस है और मैं इसको डेवलप कर रहा हूं कि जो समन्वय है, जो एक तो सूत्र में ही है, इस समन्वय में एक का खून दूसरे में बह रहा है। इंक्लूसिविज्म जिसको कहते हैं, आप सोचिए। और इससे सिविलाइजेशनल जो वैल्यूज बनी हुई है हमारे भारत की, उसने सस्टेन किया है। वहां कॉन्फ्लिक्ट वो नहीं है जो फिलोसफर्स में होता है। तो सिंक्रेटिज्म जो है, समन्वय जो है, स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट है, और उसने जो सिविलाइजेशनल वैल्यूज दिया है वो वही जो है जिसको हम लोग ये, और जिस तरह से देखिए आप वेदों से उपनिषद आइए, चाहे और भी हो, चाहे बुद्धिज्म हो, बुद्धिज्म का उसमें उसका उसमें उसका इसमें उसका उसमें, द्वैत का अद्वैत का, प्लुरलिज्म का, सारे का खून बह रहा है। न्याय का खून जो है अद्वैत में फट रहा है, क्योंकि व्यवहार के बिना नहीं चलेगा। उसका खून उसमें, उसका खून उसमें। इसलिए समन्वय जो है, हम देखिए कि पूरा जो एक सिविलाइजेशन बन रहा है और एक जो कल्चर पैदा हो रहा है, ये उसका आउट, मतलब एक तरह से कह लीजिए उसका जो है एक इम्पैक्ट है, और वो उसने दिया है। इसके बावजूद भी, क्योंकि इंक्लूसिविज्म हमारी पॉलिसी है।
थैंक यू सो
और ये
मच सर।
बहुत बढ़िया।